If there's one good thing about this whole Europa League, it's the fact that we all have the biggest opportunity to laugh at Manchester United. Never in my wildest dreams would I have thought that Manchester United would get into the position that they're in, to be fighting relegation at 16th place and even to lose to Tottenham in a European final. Now, I know that Manchester United are going through a tough situation. There's a lot of things going on with the club where, from the outside looking in, especially with this whole final and just seeing Manchester United with a magnifying glass and just seeing how they were playing and what was going on, you can really tell they're really going through it. And it's something that I would have never imagined. I mean, fighting relegation is one thing, but losing to Tottenham, that is just the icing on the cake as well in a final. I mean, like I said in my previous video, if I had to do a team talk against Tottenham, I'll just say, lads, it's Tottenham. That's all you would need to say, and the players should be motivated enough to actually do something. But you know what? I was very upset in the last video because of how Arsenal had essentially lost to Manchester United in the FA Cup, and you just think to yourself, how the hell did they do that? But putting that to the side, I just want to focus on a little bit of more positive things, and that is making fun of Manchester United, because my god, like, if you remember the Fergie era, they dominated the 90s, the 2000s, and if you were to question somebody in 2013 whether Manchester United would get into the position they are in right now, you would laugh at them, because there was no way. Because the way people see Manchester City now, Manchester United were on a different level back then. They were essentially the elite. If you were to make a probability in who would win the title every season, Manchester United would always be on top, because they just were always there. They had their dynasty. They always managed to find a way through games, whether it be Fergie pointing at his watch at Fergie time, or just really dominating games in the way that they could and finding ways to come back. And that is just the way Manchester United were back then. But so much has changed. So many managers have gone by. 1.6 billion pounds they've spent since Fergie has left, and you have to think to yourself, what has happened to them? Why have they gone down in this way? And don't get me wrong, I'm really happy. I hate Manchester United. I really hope next season they do even worse and they get relegated and I don't have to see them, because the amount of pain those guys have put on the Premier League to so many teams, especially to Arsenal as well, when Arsenal were going through their bantered era, essentially, it's a great thing for me to see, and to see those players, to see this manager, to see the meltdowns that's going on. I mean, let's just talk about one player in particular, Garnacho. I mean, for him to come out and have the meltdown that he done, saying that he wasn't picked and that he thought that he could have done something, and just really run at the media, and for then the news to then come out for Manchester United to tell Garnacho that, look, you better go find another club. There is a lot of things going on at Manchester United, which is really bizarre, and especially with Jim Ratcliffe and the cutting of costs and not having Christmas parties and all those sort of things. I don't know what the hell is going on at that football club, and I can't imagine how much worse it can possibly get for them. Because if you look at some of the players on paper that they have, they've got Mason Mount, they got Bruno Fernandes. I mean, they got some decent young players. I mean, they got Diallo, Kobe Mino, they have Mazraoui. They have young players in the team here and there, right? But the thing is that with Manchester United, the biggest problem that I see from them is the fact that they're arrogant and they live in the past, and a lot of the players that play for them, they think they're already made it, they're already superstars. And I think one player that really encapsulates all of that is Garnacho. Now, I think there is a player there in Garnacho somewhere, but the thing is that as a young player, he just seems too arrogant for me, and just some of the way he comes across, it doesn't fit well. Because if this guy was playing for Arsenal, if I saw him play for my team essentially, then I would be very angry with him a lot of the time, because the way he acts, the way he comes across, the way that he portrays himself to be, it's like, dude, you're a young player, I get it, you got potential and whatever, but you're not there yet. You can't go around acting like you're a superstar when you haven't done any of the work to get there yet. Now, don't get me wrong, could he do it? Maybe if he goes to a different team. And that's the funny thing about Manchester United. Look at Rashford, Lukaku, McTominay. Some of these players that have left Manchester United have gone on and done better things in other clubs. And that's why it's really strange, in my opinion, with what's going on with them right now. And I think the best thing they need to do, like I said, after the season that they have right now, for Manchester United to fight relegation is unacceptable. They should not be fighting relegation at all. They should be challenging for the title, honestly, every single season, because that is the standards of Manchester United. And I'm saying that as an Arsenal fan because of what the history and what the culture of the club essentially was. But now it's a whole different story altogether. And with the amount of money they spent and the money they lost out, and especially with them not being in Europe next season, it's going to be a very, very long way back for Manchester United. And it's funny because I think one of the things that they really need to do is get rid of that mentality, get rid of those types of players that are arrogant, and essentially bring in players that are young, have good potential, and are willing to learn and be coachable. And when we talk about coaching and when we talk about Amorim, which I'll get into now, I think that as a manager, I think the style of play and the formation that he wants to play won't help Manchester United right now. There'll be a lot of pain and a lot of suffering before they get to that point. But the thing is that as a manager, there's a base level you need to have with your team. And what I mean by that is that, look, no matter what formation you want to play or what style of play you want to get out of the team, you still need to get your team over a certain line or at a certain level. Like, for example, when Arteta came to Arsenal, he played the 3-4-3 formation in the beginning, got the best out of the players he had, and then he won a trophy, and then he implemented his own style of play, which is another whole situation altogether. But the point I'm trying to say is that with Amorim, he needs to get the best out of his players before going into the transfer window and getting the players that you need and doing all that sort of stuff. Because for Manchester United to barely get 40 points, for Manchester United to get 9 points since December or January, it's unforgivable. And I don't blame anyone that says that Amorim needs to be sacked, because if it were me and if these were the standards of Manchester United and these were the results, Amorim would leave the door immediately, and especially after Tottenham, because that game in itself is an unforgettable game. That's a game that people remember for the rest of their lives and forever, essentially. I'm not talking about the quality of the game in itself. I'm just talking about it's Tottenham, essentially. Losing to Tottenham in the final is one of the worst things you can do for an English team, especially if you're in the top 6 or whatever, because it's just unforgivable. I mean, looking at Ferguson's face after the game, he looked absolutely disgusted, and it's going to be a weird situation with what happens next with Manchester United. But don't get me wrong, I'm really happy about it. I get to laugh at their faces. You see, life goes around in circles, and life is really funny. It's like a roller coaster in a way. And to see Manchester United, how high they are, and to see how low they have gotten, it makes me extremely happy. And long may it continue, because we can continue to laugh at them, because those guys have been dominating for so long. So it's about time they felt some extra pain in their souls. And the thing is, if I were a Manchester United manager, owner, whoever, I'll just focus on the young players and trying to get the best out of them. I'd focus on the Kobe Miners. I'd focus on the Amad Diallos. I would get rid of Højlund as quickly as possible if there's any way. I would probably look to move on Garnacho, because his attitude I don't think would suit the team. And I think with a player like that, you need older, experienced heads to guide those types of players. But I don't think Manchester United have that as of now. And with Bruno Fernandes, I think as a captain, he has issues. As a player, he obviously has a lot of good qualities, but as a captain, you need to have that calmness and that maturity. And I think he gets far too emotional in games, and that's where he lets himself down and the team down. And I think because he's 31 years old and because Manchester United need to essentially just rebuild entirely, I think he needs to be another player that leaves. Don't get me wrong, if a lot of these Manchester United players need to leave, a good majority of them, but it's the case of what sort of quality are they going to bring, and whether they're going to stick in the very long term with Amorim, with his style of play and his tactics. Because I'll be honest, I'm not sure if the payout will be worth it, even if they do decide to go along that route. And I think maybe the better idea would be to find another manager that suits the style of play of whatever they're playing right now, whether it's a 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1, whatever it is, because I just don't think this way will work for them. But credit to Tottenham, as painful as it is for me to say, because to get 16 shots against them compared to Tottenham's three shots, to get 74% possession from Manchester United on the ball compared to Tottenham's 26% or whatever it is, and still win the game, you gotta admit it's a tactical masterclass by Big Ange. And you know what, they had one job and they flopped majorly. I mean, to lose 4 games in one season to Tottenham, I am gobsmacked, honestly. I still can't believe what I even just said that myself, or to even comprehend it. But that is what big Manchester United have done, and long may it continue their downfall and their rot. God bless. Oh yeah, and like and subscribe from this video. Thanks.